Okay, I just need to... Hello. So I received some dot cards from a generous viewer, Renea. And so I'm just going to swatch some stuff today. I'm going to go through the whole process because Fridays are when I just turn on a camera over whatever I happen to be doing. I'm not really up to painting for the last little while, so I'll just be swatching these today. So I can just cut some swatch cards and yeah, happy to chat through that. All right, we do have some people joining us now. Hello, everyone. So I'm just going to move these out of the way real quick. I have my giant paper cutter here. So I'm going to cut up some new swatch cards for myself because I'm running low. So I'll just go over what I do for that. So I have this gigantic set of swatches, or the swatch binder rather, sorry. And this is where I store my swatches. I pulled some out for a video, which I should put away now. Let me just zoom this out just a tiny bit so you can see more of my mess. Hi, how are you? So I'm just gonna sort out the swatches that I have out and put them away before I get started on new stuff. So I've got this giant swatch binder that I've sorted by pigment. So each page is a pigment, some like PR 101 here. I have multiple pages of, just because all of these are in fact going to end up being filled up eventually. So I've just made a different page for each shade because I'm sure that I'll fill out this many pages, basically. And I've been swatching things, but helpfully not putting them away, which is a thing that I do a little too regularly. So I'm going to start this off by just sorting out some swatches that I have out, and making sure that everything I have gets put away. I feel like I'm missing one, but I will deal with that later. How is everyone this fine afternoon? I'm gonna throw some more. Oh, that's where I put my extra. Got like a million projects on the go, so I've got all this stuff from different projects all just scattered around. This is where you find out what my life is really like. Hi, Erin. Rachel says, am I right? I go to bed early. I could totally go to bed early. I went to bed. Oh my goodness. I've been catching up on sleep because I was taking care of my nephew for a couple weeks. And he's absolutely adorable and perfect and so much work. Okay, so this is PBK 8. Okay, 8 is going to be all the way back there. So generally for these, in my swatch binder on the front side of the page, where I've got one page, I will keep the single pigment, and then on the back side I'll put the mixes where that pigment is listed as the first pigment. So again, here I've got ultramarine. I'm actually going to have multiple pages of ultramarine, but then the last page I'm keeping for mixes. There's no like really, hi Paulo, how are you? How am I? I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm recovering. I was kind of wiped out for a few days there. And do I just not have, that's interesting. Don't have any, that's PBK 7, PBK 6. Do I not have a PBK 8 page? I apparently don't have a PBK 8 page. That is interesting. Okay, I need to add a PBK 8 page. And where did I put? Here we go. Sorry. So let's see, live chat. Thank you. Yes, so I've just got these Amazon Basics business card sheets, and then I cut these to size on a giant guillotine cutter. So then these go here. And Yeah, I've tried a bunch of different strategies for sorting these things. I find sorting by pigment works best for me. And I've been trying to leave myself enough room because I know that I'm going to be really bad about making extra room. Like if I need to insert something in the middle, that's where I really start struggling. And so I'm trying to just make my life so that I don't really have to do that very much at all, ever. Sorry. So I'm just gonna clean up the last of this mess over here. Yeah. Put these away. Behind me. And yeah. I had this kind of plastic sheets for cards and I gave up. I don't like them. What don't you like about them, Maddie? I'm not, like, absolutely no judgment. I've tried so many different strategies for sorting things and I struggle with a lot of them. So I always find it interesting to hear other people's perspectives. There we go. That's the last one of these black ones. So you can see, like, I'm trying to set up a system where I don't pull things in and out, because the moment that I pull things in and out, they get misplaced around the room. So I can keep track of things while I swatch them, basically, and then put them away, and then ideally they pretty much just stay there. So here are the schmuck ones. It's also just an absurd size of binder. Like, I know that people have them much more, like if you look at this side, like, and I have 2 of them and I might have to start the second one soon. Because I have at least 1 sheet per pigment, pretty much, unless it's like a very rare discontinued pigment, and there's 2 very rare discontinued pigments where I know I'm not going to fill a whole sheet for either of them right side by side. But otherwise, I've got them sorted by pigment, and it's like PY1, PY3, PY35. Like, each of these is a separate sheet, which means that some of them are going to be like really empty. Where they'll only have 1 or 2 paints in them, and I'm still putting in a whole sheet just because, like, moving things around is not something that I'm going to be able to keep track of, and I'm swatching like dot cards and stuff too. So this isn't just the paints that I have like full tubes of. This is like every paint I can get my hands on and that I'm putting in here. All watercolor. Pretty much. I haven't decided exactly what I am going to do about gouache, and I do have, like, I just put in, there we go. These things that I just put in right now are the Schminke liquid charcoal, which is a watercolor. Like, it is effectively a watercolor. That's basically what the product is, but in terms of like, it's not sold necessarily as a watercolor, so yeah, that's about as far as I'm gone. I might throw some gouache in here, but I really don't have very much gouache, so if anything, I just put it, you know, in a separate sheet, all the gouache together rather than like mixing it in with the watercolor. I don't know. But yeah, pretty much everything that's in here is watercolor. Yeah, so this is the sort of obsessive stuff that I do. And I do have some notion at some point, like, well, it would be nice to scan these in by pigment, and put them into like a proper database. I do have my lovely spreadsheet of all of the single pigment colors. I do have some ideas about how to incorporate multiple pigment colors in there, but it's a lot of work, and I would like to have them all associated to scans. But again, that's a lot of work. So maybe if I get a grant for it, or can get someone else to do it, or something. Like, it's not even about, I don't even necessarily want to profit off of it. I just think that that would be really cool information to have. But, you know, limited hours in a day, so I haven't gotten around to it. And I've got cat toys here. Hey, buddy. You gonna play with your toys? Got a cat deciding whether to help me today. The answer is no, you don't help. You're not helpful. You're a cat. Okay, what was my... I've forgotten what my measurements for these are. So I've got is 3 by 2. Okay, good. Hi Ev, how are you? I'm cutting paper and swatching. So one of my followers, Renea, I don't know if she's going to be watching today, but she sent me a whole bunch of dots from her collection. And so there's a whole bunch of Da Vinci, some Daniel Smith, some Rublev, and some core in here, I believe. Oh, no, there's more. There's more. There's M. Graham, there's Winsor Newton, there's Turner, there's White Knights. So there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Yeah, neat stuff. Some of it I've tried before, some of it I haven't. I'm just going to swatch all of them and add them to the swatch binder. So that's my plan for today. So I don't know how long that'll make this stream. It shouldn't be too bad, I think. Anyway, so yeah. And now you can see me struggle to cut paper, because I've prepared not at all. So today's going to be one of those chatty streams where I'm doing things that are kind of boring, but you know, sometimes we need to do that. Did I cut these? Oh boy. No, I made this narrower than I was supposed to? Or is that one just wide? No, I made this narrower. Because I didn't line this up correctly? What is going on? Oh, because I didn't line this up correctly. Whoops. Okay, so if I... Yeah. Oh well, so I'll lose one. So I cut these, I don't know, every few months. And I always forget how I've done them. This guillotine, by the way, is like probably one of the most outrageous things I have in my studio. In terms of like art equipment, because I got a really huge one so that I never have to worry about the size of my paper. What are some of the most outrageous things you have in your studio? People love to hear me feel better about some of the crazy stuff I keep. Don't tell anyone, but I got some Winsor Newton new paints. Now I have to stop buying anymore as I don't have any more space on my palette. Oh, yeah, I think Ev is asking about White Knights or Winsor Newton, right? So then, this one would be... Did we get the right size now? Yes, we did. Okay, good. Some of this nonsense out of the way. If I turn this here, would that be better? Sorry. I know what I'm doing right now is really not the most interesting thing on earth. You're just gonna have to put up with it, because that's what I have planned today. Alright, I'm gonna switch this all the way up to the top so I don't have to line it up horizontally. There we go. And how horrifying is this sound? Don't know why, but in my mind they are White Knights with a K. Yeah, I definitely do that too. Like, I know that they are not. What? But yes, in my mind they are also written with a K. It's funny that, huh? I think I've seen it written that way too. Like, we're not the only ones who do that. Okay. So, yeah. So then I have these. And then I cut these lengthwise. And will I have to do more afterwards? How many do I have here? Might have to do a second set of sheets. Maybe I still have a few. I might still have a few. Oh boy, I've got some sticky stuff on here. That's hilarious. Well, I'm glad we're not the only ones. Okay, so this is 9. And over here. And let's do 6. What's the weather like where you are? We are in spring in Canada. And certainly in my part of the country, it goes from very, very cold to like kind of insane, like moving back and forth a lot, to very, very hot, all pretty much all of a sudden. so we are going to, oh, I need to cut these last set, don't I? I do. So we have like a cold day right now. It's like 4 degrees out Celsius, which is, oh goodness, like 38 degrees Fahrenheit. If I'm doing that correctly, which I'm probably not because I don't know Fahrenheit. I'm in Toronto, so exactly the same. Nice. Yeah, I'm in Kitchener-Waterloo, so just west of Toronto. Hi, Jill. It's okay. I was late too. I was late. I said I was gonna start at 3, and I still was late. So instead of starting at 2, I'm now starting at 3, and I was still late for my own stream. So that's that. I don't know if Sarah's planning on coming in today, but if you are, I do have some Spanish palettes I can share. Because, yeah, I stocked Arte Miranda until they restocked them and bought them a couple years ago. So I do have 2 of them, actually. I sent one to Ev, so Ev has one too. And I was born in Kitchener. That's cool. Nice. I was born in Toronto, so we swapped. So I know that people are coming in. I'm cutting some swatch cards because I'll be swatching some nice paints that were sent to me by a viewer. I'm putting them in my swatch binder. That's my plan for today. So I've got some uncommon ones, some old, like discontinued pigments, all kinds of fun stuff going on here. Why is that one so much shorter? I don't understand. Oh, it's not. I just suck at lining things up. I'm going to blame my eyeballs. No depth perception. Anyway, I am enjoying the very last of the cold weather. I like warm weather. I like being out, but I don't handle sun very well, so that's not been fun the last few years. And in the winter, I just bundle up in layers and layers and layers of sweaters. So instead of turning on the heater, instead of turning the furnace back on, like we had the AC on like 2 days ago because it was like 30 degrees Celsius. And now I have layered sweaters. So I've got a hoodie over cashmere. I didn't want to turn the furnace back on. But I'm enjoying this because we're not going to get this again until probably September. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. Yeah, so probably I am gonna have to do a second set of these. Damn it. I didn't want to do a second set of these. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a second set. Uh-oh. Oh well. This cold spell is so nice, right? Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And like realizing that I'm not really not going to enjoy the summer given how sun sensitive I've become the last few years. It's really not cool. I'm very sorry to you redheads for whom this has been your whole life, because this like not being able to go out in the sun without rashes and headaches and feeling crappy really sucks. So sorry, Ev. I'm here. Did I miss the Spanish palettes? No, I was waiting for you. Spanish palettes. So I have 2 of them. This one is the gouache one. You can see I've got some water in it, which I just take a little squeeze bottle and I just pour it over basically. So this was like a Justin Donaldson suggestion. Was just, you don't really need like to pour. How do you like the etch or post cards? And so then I just pour that over, and then you can see like, I don't know, I'll use one of the, like this is a, like this one is from Winsor Newton. No, this has been a couple days, so it's like rehydrated completely almost. But like I can paint, this is the Perylene Violet from Winsor Newton. It dries like completely dry when it dries. And it was completely dry, and that's what I can get out of it now. So like I went to take care of my nephew for a couple weeks, and like these paints, I mean, I've squeezed some fresh paint in there for a few of them, but most of them are exactly what was there before. Like I didn't refill all of the wells. And I let it dry for like 3 weeks where I didn't touch it, and then I came back and I just poured some water in it like 2-3 days ago, and just like topped it right up. And you can see like this one's a Schminke one, and there's like some water sitting there beside it, and I can just wet it completely. And again, that was completely dry, like cracked. And it re-wets completely. So yeah, they re-wet just fine. I do squeeze fresh white, like I keep white in this palette just for general mixing, but I do squeeze fresh white, but just as a just because if you keep white in this palette, it will get contaminated. So I just use it for mixing where it doesn't matter if it gets contaminated. And then I squeeze fresh white for when I want white. But you can see, like, I can just mix it. So yeah, that's what I've been using for my gouache, and I really like that solution. So yeah, this is like one of the cheap Spanish palettes that you can get in Spain and nowhere else. I got it from Marta Miranda, which ships internationally. They seem to have it in stock like once every 2 years or whatever, so you just kind of have to stalk their website until they restock it. And then I got 3 because that was shipping weight cutoff, so I got 3, and I was going to keep 1 and give 1 to Ev and give 1 to someone else, and the someone else, that just never panned out. So now I've got 2, and I sent 1 to Ev. Hi, Steven. I just ordered 1 from them. They have an in-stock notification thing. Oh, nice. So they did restock them. That's cool. Because I know that they were out of stock recently. With the gouache, it looks like you can't get the thickest from the tube's texture still, right? I can absolutely get the thickest from the tube texture. So like if I go to the magenta, for example, like here you have like this was cracked, and I can, like, you can see I can like push it around. It has rehydrated completely. That's thick from the tube texture. Like leaving marks on my paper. Now that's after 3 days of sitting with water. So like, because I knew it was just going to be sitting on my desk, so I didn't care if it was sitting in like standing water. Generally, I might put a little bit less. So, for example, like here's a Winsor Newton burnt sienna, and you can see like it has. I've actually got 2 different paints in here. So this one's a Schminke Venetian red or something. And then the Winsor Newton burnt sienna, you can see like it's still got some, it's a little bit, yeah, I can get just as thick. And again, this is 3-week-old paint. This one is a cadmium yellow from M. Graham. You can see M. Graham never fully solidifies. So even though the like the water has evaporated out of this one's going to behave more like an M. Graham watercolor. And my water's a little too dirty to really play with that. But if I go here again, I can just get it. Yeah, it works fine. And again, this is just a sidebar. This is like, I'm taking a gouache course with Justin Donaldson because, you know, I'm good with watercolor, but gouache was overwhelming. So I thought that would be really cool. And it's stuff like this where, yeah, it's kind of just like changed my thinking about how gouache functions. It re-wets just fine. I've got another one of these guys that I've got. This is like my travel studio palette, I guess. It's got very similar colors to what I keep in my studio palettes at home. And I've just loaded some watercolors in here, and yeah, so it's got this tray. It's a steel, like an enameled steel palette. I guess if you look at the edges, you can sort of see like it's not going to be perfectly even. There's like some of the edges aren't quite finished. Like these corners here aren't totally closed. It's just like a stamped enameled steel. And then this tray is just put together. These pans are just like welded together. Spot welded, I guess. But it is this hefty, portable thing. It's got like big flat mixing spaces. This lifts out so you can use even more mixing space. That's pretty utilitarian, but it works out well, and like for the price it's pretty good if you want something that's solid that you're not like fussing with individual pans. What brand was the magenta? Yeah, so that's purple magenta from Schminke. Okay, I need to wash my hands because I've now got gouache all over them. I might as well refill my water while I'm at it. On the opposite, I'm used to gouache, but just breaking into watercolor. That's really cool. Yeah, I went from drawing to watercolor, so I don't really, like, I never really experienced, like, traditional painting media with the play on opacity. So, like, reversing my thinking and working in opaque layers or semi-opaque layers, working with opacity, as well as trying to figure out like how to make this flow and how to make this blend, and like, so I tried gouache, I tried a few different paint media, but struggled with them. So it's been really neat to explore that. I feel like it'll really help me develop not just with gouache, but like even, you know, for watercolor. Okay, I need to grab my coffee. Second coffee to power me up for streaming. Hi, Dan. Yeah, I don't know if Cyan is here. But yeah, Sarah, you'd also brought up jelly gouache. Yeah, I don't have any experience firsthand with jelly gouache. So, I mean, this is all just based on me looking at this product and like my response to this product existing, not an actual response to a product I've tried. So, you know, it could be that it really does behave completely differently from regular gouache, and I'm just not getting the difference because I haven't tried it, and that's totally legitimate. It's also the case that, like, if you like working with things, you know, Cyan was saying that she prefers to work with the jelly gouache. I mean, you know, quality is arbitrary. If this is something that if you have a product that works well for your purposes, like if you really want to, if you're an artist and your medium is Crayola crayons from the dollar store and you make beautiful art with that, or you make art you like with that, there's nothing wrong with that. My issue with jelly gouache is like totally just based on how it's marketed and sort of like my feeling about trends on YouTube and social media. The jelly just refers to the jelly cup style container. Yes, I guess I also don't like the concept of like these little, I don't know, disposable containers. Like if it's going to be dry, then just have it be dry. If it's going to be wet, then just have it be resealable. There's like, you know, they come sealed, but you open them. Things. Yeah. Again, not a real criticism based on having tried a product because I haven't tried them. This is all just my thoughts. It just seemed like a semi-disposable gimmick was my thought on it. They don't have any kind of pigment information on them as far as I can tell, at least not easily found. It's one of these like you buy the set, you can't replace individual colors things, which I never really like. You know, I would prefer to be able to get stuff open stock, so I tend to not like anything where it's not available open stock. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Well, so clearly I don't know much about it. And like I definitely don't mean to slam anyone who uses it and enjoys it. Yes, my feeling based on like absolutely no information is it seems rather gimmicky and it's similar to like Arteza products where it's nothing against the product itself, which as far as I can tell, like Arteza, for example, makes a whole line of different products, colored pencils and watercolors and etc. And they're all just, you know, they're student grade paints. They're sort of like a hobbyist, you know, a decent hobbyist product. And there's nothing wrong with decent hobbyist products, but when you end up with a product that's being marketed through YouTube sponsorships and you have a huge number of, you know, like it or not, influential people who are promoting this because they're being paid by the company or they're receiving product for free from the company, like that's just in some sense even worse, where it's one thing if it's actually a sponsorship, right? Like sponsorships need to be disclosed, that's an ad. But with Tesa and a number of other things. It's like companies will send influencers free products in exchange for their unbiased review, which, you know, I've done this, not with Arteza specifically, but, you know, I have received free products, which I have reviewed, and I do disclose that on my channel. I try to actually be somewhat objective. Of course, you are going to be influenced and think more positively of something that, you know, somebody sent you for free. There's like no way around that, really. Yeah. They have open stock cups in larger containers as well. Are they available? Like, I've only ever seen them. I would feel better about them if I could find open stock cups. I've only ever seen them in this set. Yeah, I thought I'd heard them described as jelly-like. Right. So I have no problem with cheap products. Like, I have no problem with, you know, here's a student grade set of paint. I guess I do have a problem to some extent with large sets that are marketed, you know, like here's a set of 120 cheap watercolors for the price of 10 good watercolors. Like, just get the 10 good watercolors. You don't need 120 cheap watercolors. And, you know, that's one that I do feel fairly strongly about, just because I run into it all the time when teaching, is people who are, you know, they want to make the most of their money. They're trying to do the best they can, and they get marketed at like, you know what you need 120 colors so that you can paint whatever you want. And they'll go and they'll spend like a not unsubstantial amount of money, right? Like, at that point you are looking at, you're paying $100+ for what amounts to like really bad quality paint. And so I guess part of my issue with the jelly gouache, they do come in all different sizes of sets. The smaller ones bother me less. The like gigantic ones that have, you know, here's 24 cups or more bother me more. I absolutely do get the point of having something semi-disposable if you're using it for like sitting in an exam, which is what I've heard the use case is. It's like, this is what this was developed for, is it's basically poster color that you use to use during an exam. And that is fine, I guess. Like, I'm definitely not immune to, you know, collecting things myself. Like, again, this is not a comment on that, you know, individual people's choices. Like, you can be a great artist and use jelly gouache, and I can admire, like, I do watch a lot of content that's made with it, and like, admittedly, there is some beautiful artwork made. I just don't think that it's the material. And I feel like there was some with the jelly gouache, I'm not sure if it's actually a sponsorship or it just showed up really cheap on Amazon at some point and people jumped on it. Yeah. So, right. Definitely not trying to be elitist here. I just tend to be dubious about a lot of things that come out. with like, what you need is the latest and greatest foldable, super, whatever, superior, this, that, the other paint palette with 64 of these paints that are different in this tiny little way. No, you really don't. It just like, it seems like it tends to catch a lot of beginners. I mean, I make this joke about myself where I will watch artists that I admire and be like, oh, what are they using? What are they using? And go out and buy some art supplies. And you know what? I'm still not James Gurney. And so, you know, it's not like this is really any different. I just feel like it's a shame that you end up with beginners who are spending, like, again, it's not the fact that it's not artist quality that's the problem. It's the fact that it's, once you get into these larger quantities of a product that's not artist quality, like you getting a little set of student grade, right? Like, here. I have a few little sets of student grade paint. These are things that I do actually recommend to students if they're doing like a nature journaling course or something. They just want a little bit of color. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get something that will allow you to add color and start experimenting with watercolor. And maybe watercolor doesn't turn out to be your thing. So maybe, you know, learning to mix all your colors from 3 primary colors is a lot of work and more commitment than you want to put in if you're just trying to color some things on the go. Learning to, and you know, to buy 12 professional watercolors is quite an investment. So like spending $20 on a little set makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is if you've got like this is a Cotman set, but Cotman sets also come in like giant things, right? So this one's $20. You can also get the whatever it is, over $100 giant Cotman set. The giant Cotman set does not make sense to me because at the point where you're spending $100, I feel like you're much better off just spending it on better materials. And so I guess that's where I get caught up with things like the giant Arteza sets or jelly gouache or etc. It's not the fact that they're not artist grade. There's totally a use case for not artist grade products. It's the fact that it's actually kind of expensive to get a giant set of something. And they're marketed by people who have a financial stake in it. Whether it's as simple as an Amazon affiliate link, like I make money off of those too, or it's, in some cases, it's like they've received it from the company. Arteza does this a lot. So then they're promoting it as this is this great paint. Well, I mean, it's certainly good if it's free. Now, if you have to pay for it, So I ultimately didn't get any. I don't go through large volumes at once. I think it's especially popular because the packaging is so cute. Yes, exactly. Nothing against cute packaging, like cute packaging, but I does sponsorships for their rebranded jelly gouache, but I don't think I've seen Himi Mia sponsorships. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I saw like they all popped. There was a whole bunch of Himi gouache stuff that popped up all at once. But unlike, for example, Arteza, I don't recall it being like specified that it was sent to them. So it's possible that these are just people who bought spent their own money bought their own stuff on Amazon are posting Amazon affiliate links. And, you know, that's their only interest, which is obviously that's less than if somebody received the product for free, and that's obviously less than if it's sponsored. And again, like, you know, for all that I complain about this, I do make money off of Amazon affiliates. I have done, you know, received free stuff. I've done brand partnerships. Like, you know, it's, I'm in this business too. I just, like, being in this business, I guess I'm, like, particularly dubious about certain things. And that is one of them. Hi, Renea. Thank you so much for the dots. So I'm just doing a long section where I cut paper, and then did a brief overview of some palettes I have, and then I'm going to be swatching your paints. So yeah, thank you so much. This is really cool and super generous, and I'm looking forward to it. Hi, Lauren. Happy birthday, Lauren. It's Lauren's birthday. Lauren is now 19. Whee! Ev says, I gotta run. Have a great day. Bye, Ev. Bye, Jill. Oh, Jill, before you run, if I've still got you, I haven't posted it on Patreon yet, but I've been watching the weather, and I think I'm gonna try to do a like an outdoor sketching thing, sketching birds for the Patreon stream. So that is tentatively scheduled for Sunday, but I'll post some more details up on Patreon. So I know that you're in that Patreon group, I believe. I feel really bad if I'm like advertising some Patreon thing to you and you're not, but I believe you are. Beer or energy? Thanks all. I'm wondering if I should buy beer or energy drink. No? Can I join? I can send you a link. You can hang out with Mom. I've got my mommy supporting me on Patreon. Got nothing better to do on Sunday evening? Aren't you working? Oh, while working. Okay, yeah, sure. It's fine. I can send an extra link. Lauren's my baby brother, everyone, in case you missed that little update. Speaking of that, baby brother, I didn't get the second half of your sentence. You were debating between beer or what now? I can send you a birthday meal. complete with your alcohol of choice if you want. You have ID for when they get to the door. Don't drink while at work though. What time do you end work? Hi, Val. Okay, well, we can chat about what you want birthday treat wise. Go with beer. Make a meal and FedEx it to me. Well, I mean, Lauren, have you had beer at all? How do you feel about bitter things? Yes, pen holder is Dan. I'm always awkward about naming people because I know that some people prefer to go by internet pseudonyms even if I know their name, but Dan actually has his name attached to his various accounts on the internet, so it's easily traceable, and I'm quite happy to just call him Dan. Joy here? I don't think that Joy is here yet. Joy is visiting a friend in Christchurch. So she's not, you know, she's on holiday time, and she's also, it's also early in the morning for her. So I suspect that Joy's still asleep and she'll stumble in at some point. Usually how things work with Joy. Actually, instead of beer, I recommend cider. It tastes better. I would tend to agree. I don't know. I haven't. Yeah, some people prefer it. Cider. Lee made it for her wedding. Yes. Did you try any of the cider at my wedding? That was many years ago. You definitely weren't legal drinking age. But I think that I did save some for you or Misha and said that you could try it, just not at the event. Nope, you didn't try it at all. Okay. Cider is very tasty. I mean, you did have your like rum and Coke and thought that it tasted like Coke but worse. So you know, cider tastes sort of like non-alcoholic cider, but alcoholic-y. It's good stuff if you like. Oh, I forgot you're in Canada. Yeah. Yeah, we're in Canada. We have like really shit drinking laws and like super restricted, but the thing is now, at least because of COVID, they've kind of used it as an excuse locally. So it used to be you had to only get your liquor like at a licensed restaurant or at a liquor store, like including beer, wine, cider, etc. It's like, you know, very few grocery stores even carried it. There's like special licensing requirements, but now they're allowing like delivery apps to deliver alcohol along with your food. So you can get whatever you want. So unfortunately, I can't get together with Lauren for his birthday because he lives in a different city. But I can get him a birthday meal, and I can get him his celebratory. He turned legal drinking age. Drinks, if I want to. I always recommend cider, as we can make some really good stuff, but okay, so we can definitely get cider. Cider is a big thing here. We are a big apple growing country, and it took a while for cider to catch on as a thing that's tasty, but like there is a large selection of ciders available now. Lauren was commenting, for our wedding, we brewed a lot of our own, like we brewed our own beer, our own cider, we brewed mead and wine as well. So that was some good stuff, and we've brewed cider since then, but you can also just get it like at a restaurant or at the LCBO or whatever. And yes, Lauren, you can absolutely order it on Skip the Dishes, but you see, if you order it on Skip the Dishes, then you are using your money, whereas if I order it on Skip the Dishes, then you're just receiving a birthday present. Wouldn't that be nice? I will have to try your cider when I come visit sometime when the world reopens. Oh. Well, that's kind of disgusting and lame. Yeah, I wonder how it compares to our local cider. I mean, we can get some imported stuff, but like obviously most of our cider, since we are an apple growing region as well, most of our cider is local. There's a couple of imported ones, but if you ever get the chance to Scotland, I recommend whiskey. I do enjoy some whiskey. We also brew some whiskey. Well, really Scotch, but there's all different kinds of whiskey around. Our cider is rich, deep, malty, but still sweet. Yes, I don't know that I would really describe our cider as malty most of the time. It's like more of a crisp flavor. I do prefer some of the drier ones. I definitely got hooked on cider with like the really super sweet stuff. Things like Summersby, etc. Well, the thing is, I also don't drink very much. I used to enjoy cider and, you know, the occasional stout, some mixed drinks, some wine here and there. Never like heavy drinking, but I used to enjoy, a drink here and there. I barely drink anymore because I get a wicked instant headache. It's like having a hangover, only, I don't even get to the next day. I don't even get through my drink before I've got a wicked headache, which really takes the joy out of drinking. So, yeah, I like trying to think of the last time I had it. Oh, that's not true. I went to my sister's and we shared a cider. But other than that, yeah, it's been like 6 months since I've had anything. And then it was like, yeah, I had a quarter of a glass of wine, like I don't drink. I recommend Kopperberg, Brothers, Factor's Gold, or Strongbow. I've definitely had Strongbow. That is, if we're gonna have imports. No, I mean, I think that it's completely reasonable to have a drink here and there, and I definitely enjoy experimenting, trying different stuff. I just, again, it really sucks the joy out of it if you're gonna have a headache right away. So, when that started happening, I stopped drinking. All right, enjoy work, Lauren. Yes, I've definitely had Strongbow. Strongbow is, if you are gonna get import, Strongbow is widely available. But yeah, mostly I wonder if the Strongbow, I wonder if the import Strongbow is different than the local stuff too. Just to point out, I hardly ever drink now. The joys of a liver disease. Oh, I didn't realize you have a liver disease. I'm sorry to hear that. I have an autoimmune disease that doesn't get along with alcohol. And so far, it seems like my kidneys have been fine, so it's not a long-term damage thing, it just takes the joy out of it. Strongbow is acceptable and the cheapest, but not the best. Okay, well, that is good to know, because you recommended Strongbow, and I was like, I've had Strongbow, and I'm sorry, but our cider is way better than Strongbow. But yeah, that's. I kind of assumed that Strongbow was likely, it's kind of like if you're gonna have like a stout, people talk about Guinness. There's nothing wrong with Guinness, but it's not really the best. It's very, very minor, but it's recommended to not drink alcohol with it. Yes. Totally understood. Yeah, I have an undifferentiated autoimmune connective tissue disease, likely lupus, but I don't have clear enough differentiable symptoms that they can say with certainty that it's lupus, so I'm not being treated specifically for lupus. And presumably that's what's causing the headaches when I have any alcohol. The bigger concern, from a long-term health standpoint, would be it's likely to cause kidney disease. Now I have had my kidneys tested and there's no sign of any substantial active damage, so yeah, it's what I used to drink because it was cheap, but if I had to choose any of Brothers or Kopperberg, yes, I don't think I've tried those, so hopefully that means it's mild. I'm not sure. It's certainly when I was told I wasn't going to get treatment because they couldn't narrow it down to a specific, like, well, I was told it will get more severe and that's when we'll be able to differentiate it. And at the time that felt really, really crappy. Sorry, just readjusting my frame here. At the time that felt really, really crappy, because I really was not feeling okay. So it was like, oh great, when it gets more severe, what if I don't want it to get more severe? Since then, I've been treated for other things that have made some of the symptoms go away. So yeah, it's unclear how much of it is lupus, maybe not a lot. It's possible that I've just got ADHD and other complications, and the whatever the autoimmune is really just a mild icing on top. What's the fancy stamp? So the fancy stamp is, it makes these things so that I can make swatches. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. It's now so mild that it's not getting any worse. Doesn't show up on blood tests, which is good. As it getting worse is very bad. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, health issues are fun. And you get a whole tangle of different things that interact with each other. Can't tell what's what. Is it all in my head? Not that there's anything wrong with diseases that are in my head. ADHD, and it's in my head, and it's definitely caused all sorts of nonsense. Oh, it's all good. It's that mild that I'm not even considered at risk enough to get my COVID vaccine yet. Oh shoot, you're still unvaccinated. Guys, never purchase display items. Oh, like discounted, like store displays, you mean? Those stamps are really cool. I think I've seen them on Etsy. You can throw in a link. They're from Waffle Flower Crafts. They're available directly from Waffle Flower. I think they're also available on Amazon, of all places. Yes. I was finally able to schedule the vaccines. Those are the Waffle Flower ones. Yes, they are the Waffle Flower stamps. I am vaccinated. I've had my first vaccine. Won't be long now. They're doing the 30, 31-year-olds at the moment. Oh, right, you're under 30. Yeah, they just expanded to all adults in Canada, but also the other thing is Canada, particularly Ontario, has really prioritized, like they've pushed second vaccine doses way, 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 way back. So they're basically only doing first vaccines, which, like, public health has some mixed feelings about that, but you know, that was the strategy they chose to go with. So something like over 65% of adults in Ontario have now had their first dose, and they are getting through that last little bit pretty quick. And then once they've got most everyone vaccinated with a first dose, then they'll start accelerating the later doses. These, I think. Okay, I can't click on that right this instant, but there are similar things. This is the one from Waffle Flower. which is, I don't think it's on Etsy, but I could be wrong. It's a strategy in Sweden too. I heard that Melbourne had to lock down again. I would feel bad, but we've been in lockdown for, gosh, forever. It's like lockdowns are meaningless by this point because they just blend into each other. Anyway, I did get mine, I guess, a couple weeks before they opened up to everyone. On the basis of being in a high-risk neighborhood. There were other things that I might have been able to use, like, yeah, you know, I have an autoimmune disease or something, but the thing is they were pretty specific about what, you know, what the criteria for that were, and by the letter, it didn't seem like I quite fit in. One province is putting up in more restrictions, another one is opening up its border. Yeah, is this one, the waffle flower? Yes, it's $4. Yep, that's exactly it. So the $4 just gets you the stamp part. You do have to get like an acrylic block to put it on separately. Oh, cool, nice. So there's like a reseller on Etsy, or is it Waffle Flower has an Etsy storefront, or how does that all work? Because I know that Waffle Flower is also selling on Amazon. So depending on where you are, you can also get them on Amazon, which you can sometimes save the shipping that way. Reseller, okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, they are art materials, so they are allowed on Etsy. Anyway, yeah. I like having these little stamps, so then I can have a nice, even, consistent system for my swatches. Big shop in Etsy, over 30,000 sales. Cool. I guess stamping is kind of a like big craft thing that a lot of people enjoy. It's definitely a rabbit hole, right? Like once I got the acrylic blocks, I was like, oh, well, I have a stamping pad and acrylic blotch. Should I get other stamps? But I've just got this one and the color wheel one from Waffle Flower. And to be honest, I don't think that stamping is ever really going to be my thing, so this is fine. She also does the die cut stuff. I feel like I would be the worst with die cut stuff. Like I can't maintain a printer. Oh gosh. Die cut, and then you have like all the like offcuts, and it's definitely not going to be my thing. I'm too messy for that. So how's this fascinating stream, guys? You're watching me stamp things after watching me cut things. She also has crickets. That's a lot of it's a lot of hobbies that are not for me. Which is good because I have too many hobbies already. Satisfying. It's good. I love it. Awesome. Well, you know, it's a slice of real life. Thing that needs to be done. It's a great companion while I draw mushrooms. That's awesome. Cool. Well, I will get to swatching, so at least we'll have some pretty colors to go with you are gonna paint, right? Not a bad stream. I am going to, I have some lovely, lovely dot cards that were sent to me by a viewer, Renea. I'm not sure if she's still here, who gave me a bunch of samples from her collection, and I'm gonna swatch them and put them in my swatch binder. That is my plan for today. So yes, there will be painting, but it won't be, you know, the world's most interesting painting. Just watching. But sometimes that's what I do. Kind of nice to have company for these tasks, though, I will say. I would love a cry cut. I could make sticker sheets then. I would buy your sticker sheets, but again, I feel like that's a thing that not gonna be my business, because the idea of maintaining a cry cut, whew. Or cricket? How is that pronounced? Okay. All right, so there we go. So let's get these out. Okay, so first I've got aerolite yellow. So let's start with the Da Vinci here. So this is, here, let me get out a pen. I used to call them circuits or circuits. Oops, I had it muted. Oh well, you weren't missing that much. Some conversation while I played with, I'm sorry, I need to work on, maybe this one's working. Aerolite, yeah, aerolite, yellow, brand, Da Vinci. I don't have any of this information, but this is PY97. So then what I do for these is I go 2 passes, and then in here, and try to get this as a nice even quantity across here. And then I dip it in water, get rid of some of this paint, and then see how it flows this way. Sometimes add just a little bit of extra water in here to see if there's going to be any changes, any like blooming or whatever. And then in the mass tone, I get it as much as I can across here. So I do have some Da Vinci paints. I got a whole bunch during a sale that a Canadian art supply store had a few years ago. But generally speaking, getting them, like, they're quite affordable, but then to get them shipped to Canada is a little expensive if you buy them directly from Da Vinci, and they're not carried at a lot of stores here, so you know, it's not the most accessible brand, generally speaking. So it's nice to be able to try more of them. Let's just this here a little bit more. Video intensifies. So intense. I'm intensely painting little dots of here. I painted a little swatch of yellow, and now I'm going to paint a little swatch of different yellow. This is some hardcore video we're doing here. Is it just me, or does this Hansa Yellow Deep have like almost like a weird greenish undertone to it? Like, what is going on here? Okay. Not sure I like that. This is just like, did I catch something in the water? Like, what is it? Just seems like sort of mucky. Never owned any Hansa Yellows. That's interesting. I have definitely owned some, but you know, I've gotten pretty set in my ways with my yellows, so they never really made it into my classic yellows, I guess. What yellow do you usually use, Stephen? Okay. Now we have gold ochre. Oh, interesting. They've made a gold ochre with PY42 and PY83. The inclusion of PY83 is interesting because it's not really the most light fast of yellow pigments. So to include it in something like the gold ochre, which is a sort of muted tone, is a little surprising, I would say. It's a very pretty color, though. I do like it. Like here, you know, it's got that almost like a quinacridone gold thing going. Like, it's a little bit more opaque, but it's got that like orangey glow where it's quite a bit more transparent than similar things and has like a sort of yellowy golden undertone to it. Very pretty. To be honest, I mean, PY83 is just, it's such a gorgeous pigment. I wish it was more white fast, because every time I see a paint with it, I'm like, oh, I like this so much. But yeah. That is really pretty though. It's showing as more yellow on my screen, like it's really more of a golden color on its own. I have a gauntlet of yellow paint. Start with green gold, then spectral. Well, isn't PY154 a Hansa pigment? No? I thought it was. Oh, it's 150 plus 110 and PO62. PO62. Which one's that? Green gold. Okay. Okay, green gold. Let's see what I think of this green gold. It is quite green. So green golds vary, right? Some of them are more greenish, some of them are more brownish. This one does read to me as pretty clearly green and quite saturated, so I do like that. It's a nice green gold. And it waters down to something very much like a yellow. It's quite nice. I like it. As it's drying, it is drying more, like a little duller. But it's still got that very, very nice, like, yellow undertone to it. So these are some generous dots. Some of them I may end up putting in pans. In general, I can't really be bothered to save little dots. I just can't keep track of them terribly well. But I am keeping an eye out. If there's something that I really like, I'll pull it off the paper and put it in a pan. Da Vinci Red. So PR254. So PR254 is one of those colors that you find in like every pre-made palette that I don't really use very much. So I can't really compare it terribly well to other versions, because even though like I've tried it a million times from every brand, it's not it's not a pigment that I personally have a lot of experience with. Right. Oh, so Benzie 154. Okay. Yeah, so Hansa is a right, so it's benzimidazolone. Hansa is like referring to the process. There's some overlap between them. I believe the PY154 is a Hansa color, but I'm not actually sure about that. I could just be making stuff up. I thought that PY154 was like what some brands call Hansa Yellow Medium or Hansa Yellow Light, as opposed to like PY3 is like either Hansa Yellow Light or Hansa Yellow Lemon. And then you have like PY97, PY65 that are, I don't know enough chemistry to be, like, I could just be making stuff up. This is just based on like my memories of the thing, but keep in mind I don't really use any of these pigments, so don't really know. Here we have one of these very, like, this is like your red fire truck red with undertones of red. PR254. I recently tried using ochre to dissolve gouache like into tree trunks to get a nice mossy look. Oh, how did that go? Well, so many I haven't tried yet. Like in this collection? So alizarin, crimson, quinacridone. So this is PV19. Sorry. PV19. So Da Vinci has like 6 single pigment PV19s. I'm pretty sure they're just mixing different ratios of 2 or 3 different sources. But they've got this whole range of colors that are all PV19. And I got a bunch of them when I got my set, but I didn't get their alizarin crimson. I don't think that was in stock. So this is adding to my collection. I like it. I like it a lot. That is really pretty. Yeah, that's gorgeous. I really like real alizarin crimson, but of course it's very fugitive, so I don't use it. This has a lot of the same stuff that I like about that. It's like this deep candy apple red. It skews a little bit pink, but it's you know, quite transparent. Feels like it would glaze really well. It is missing some of that, I don't know what to call it, like pow from the original, but since you can't trust real alizarin crimson and to stand the test of time, this is really pretty. PY3, PY6, PY65, and PY74. Okay, so I am just making stuff up. Sorry, I accidentally clicked off. Okay, so Paolo knows a lot more than I do. 65 and 97 are Hansa? Yes. 65 and 97 are definitely Hansa pigments. Quinacridone fuchsia. Oh, PR202. So PR202 is similar to PR122, which I use in a lot of my palettes, so I haven't really experimented too much with PR202, even though, like, isn't it a pretty color? It's just slightly more muted than PR122, so generally I choose the brighter one. And then, having chosen the brighter one, it seems really silly to get something so similar. So don't use it very much. But it is a really, really pretty color. So if I was using a different sort of magenta, like something more like a PV19 or something, then I could see using this as my second magenta, like a more muted one. Oh, it's pretty. Guys, watercolor paints are so pretty. They're just so nice. I'm gonna give you some warmer light here. I feel like this is feeling a little cold. Let's give you some warmer light. That roundy magenta I got from you plus dioxazine purple in layers makes a very nice wine dark color. I can imagine, yes. So this, are you asking about this palette? This is PR202 Quinn Fuchsia. Da Vinci. Bit more blue than my core PR122 magenta. This Quinn Fuchsia, yes, it is a little bit more blue, also just a tiny bit more muted. Like it's not, you know, it's not, it's got, yeah. It's got a little bit more, you know. More of the complement in it. Okay, next. Okay, now we have one that I have tried. I even own. I think I may have a tube that used to belong to you, Stephen, of this stuff. This is Perylene Maroon. And it sure is a nice color. It does, it scans weirdly. So getting it to scan right is a little challenging. It also has a massive drying shift that's a little hard to wrap your mind around. And it has a texture, which I sometimes struggle with a little. But yeah, this is PR179. This is your Perylene red or Perylene maroon. Perylene maroon. Us just over here slightly. Those. So this is Da Vinci Violet. And so this is going to be your dioxazine. Dioxazine isn't a pigment that varies a huge amount. I'm seeing some texture in here. Now, my water does tend to bring out texture and things, but can you see the texture? So the hard water in Kitchener-Waterloo does definitely bring out texture and things, but can you see that? So this is something that I see a lot in M. Graham. It does occasionally pop up in other brands, but you'll have these colors that are non-granulating. With this, you really don't like the Perylene Maroon. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. So this is pretty much what I would expect a PV23 to look like, but yeah, it's interesting when it does that texture thing. I personally like it when paints granulate. I don't dislike it when paints granulate. This texture thing that's like reaction with the water, it doesn't behave quite like granulation, because what it is it's the pigment particles clumping together, and so it makes mixing really different. And because it happens in traditionally non-granulating paints, it's, you know, it can be a cool effect if that's specifically what you're looking for, but it's nice to be able to opt out sometimes, to have a paint that doesn't granulate. And the thing with this clumping water thing is you cannot get a paint that doesn't granulate. If, for example, you're using M. Graham in a place with hard water. So it's just Handprint mentioned granulation, but also flocculation. It is neither of those things. So clumps like koi watercolors. I'm trying to think if I've got a good example with me. I might. I do. Okay. Here. Okay. Okay. This is quinacridone rust by M. Graham. And this is this is the paint that I first found this in. So quinacridones are generally considered a non-granulating paint. So M. Graham doesn't list it on their tubes, but if you look at their brand documentation, they will call this a non-granulating paint. Now, if I take just a regular clean plate, excuse me, give me a moment. I say clean plate. This is not clean because I have too many projects on the go. But if I take this and I throw some of this on here, Granulation is the painter's way of talking about flocculation as though the yes, but so what handprint Bruce McAvoy or whatever his what handprint is discussing when they talk about flocculation is something that you see in pigments like Prussian blue that'll form like these strings where the pigment particles will like string together and make these weird clumps where it's not uneven settling of the paint. It's like an actual interaction between the paint particles, which I understand is not the chemistry definition of flocculation, but that is what he's describing. What I'm describing is a third thing, which is my water has dissolved iron and calcium in it. And when there's not enough binder in a very fine hydrophobic particle paint, what ends up happening when you add water that has all sorts of ions in it is that the paint pigments will drop out of their binder because there's not sufficient binder to coat them all. It will happen to some degree even with distilled water, but it is much, much more obvious if you have water that has a lot of other stuff in it. And they will clump together. And sorry, let's go get some nonsense from the bottom of here. And you'll start to see it happening. See these sorts of flecks forming? It gets really quite strong. Sometimes it works best if you add a different contrasting color, but you'll see it right on the mixing surface. You just negotiate this due to statics because are technically are solutions because sometimes they're motions. Paints are suspensions, no? They are. I'm gonna let Paolo take this one. Anyway, so they will drop. What you end up having is there's not enough. There is not enough gum arabic in these paints to coat the particles of quinacridone pigment. So you see how if I start pushing this around, you see how there's like some thicker. Let's try to get you as close. Sorry. Do you see these lines as I drag across starting to form? How there's like different, like it's separated. The binder has now separated from these little clumps of quinacridone that have formed. And so it took me forever to figure out what was going on. And really, finally, it took me mulling my own paint to experience it firsthand to realize what was going on. M. Graham prides themselves, M. Graham and a lot of other artist grade companies, they want to maximize how much pigment they have. So they're trying to maximize how much pigment they can pack into this tube for every amount of binder. And so you can start to see here, like see that dark brown line here? That's all these little dots. So those are all little clumps of quinacridone pigment. Bye, Joy. Anyway, so these are all just little clumps of pigment, and they will just drop right out, and you can see they're starting to do that here, here. If I drag this around, you can start seeing like all this separation. So the binder, which is supposed to coat each pigment particle, is no longer coating each pigment particle, and the pigment particles are then hydrophobic. This is exacerbated by having water that's got all kinds of other ions and whatever floating around in it. And they clump together and they form this sort of stuff. And not only that, but then if you take another paint, right? Let's see, I'm going to use a phthalo turquoise. Now this one is from Holbein. And Holbein does use enough binder in there. So if I just use my phthalo turquoise from Holbein on its own, it's not going to separate at all. Sorry. It's not going to separate at all. It's reacting. There's some soap or something on this plate, but it's not. You see, it's not gonna, this one's never gonna separate. But if I mix it now into this one, it's going to also start doing weird things. And then you'll get some like really weird clumping wherever one of these underbound paints comes into play. And it shows up right on the mixing surface. It gets stronger and stronger and stronger the more you use it. As you add water and it dries up, the ions get left, like your calcium and iron and whatever's get left behind, and then you re-wet it, and so now you have the stuff in the fresh water plus the stuff in the older water, so it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger and clumps more and more and more and more and more rapidly. You can't get it out when you're painting. It is mildly infuriating is the word for it. It's not behaving the way that it says it's supposed to. So it's a kind of neat effect, but it's really unpredictable. And it's nice to be able to have some predictable paints. Yeah, so if I start tilting this again, I can't find on handprint their definitions. We can take this to Discord later. I agree that flocculation has a meaning that is similar to what, like, flocculation in a chemistry sense means the same thing as we observe as granulation in a watercolor sense. I am, yeah, handprint makes a further distinction between granulation and flocculation that does not depend on the chemistry definition. And I'm describing a third thing here. Or maybe I'm describing a version of Handprint's description of flocculation that isn't flocculation, but this is a like, it's observed in different things than what Handprint looks at. Yeah, so it just makes these little clumps, little dark dots. And it definitely depends on my water. So I see it more than other people. It's also, I presume, why I see more fading in my Prussian blue. It is because of my water, but yeah. Neat, huh? Okay, French ultramarine, red shade. Oh. Let's make sure I'm getting enough of this stuff and not whatever nonsense I contaminated it with. Okay, so that's got quite a bit of texture in it. But this is a granulating paint. So the granulation, this is actual granulation, not weird stuff that happens with my paints because I use groundwater. I think I'm due for another blog post about that, maybe a video. Oh, I get 2 ultramarines. That's cool. Old Holland flocculation. Pigment particles aggregate together, giving the same effect as granulation. Okay. Examples include viridian green, light and dark, green earth, and raw umber. Okay, I am even more confused. Did you find your PO49 blob? Nope. I have other PO49s that I've since opened, but nope. I've also been away from home for 2 weeks, right? So that's part of it. And Jordan cleaned up the house. Bless him. I'm like really pleased about that, but it does mean that things have been rearranged while I was away. But yeah, I went to take care of a toddler. So it turns out that toddlers are like absurd amounts of work. You know, any of you with children already knew that. I already knew that, but like it was like made very, very clear to me in, Sorry, I need to make sure that I'm not contaminating this with stuff. There we go. But toddlers are just absurd amounts of work. Bye, Paolo. I look forward to following up on this granulation flocculation discussion because ain't that interesting. So there's that. These seem mighty similar, don't they? I'm grateful to be born as the youngest child in my family because I can't stand babysitting children. Huh, interesting. I was the first, but I'm also the middle child. I have 2 adopted siblings, so who are older. I did plenty of babysitting of younger siblings in my day, and I was the neighborhood babysitter. So it's not that I'm unfamiliar with children, but they're a lot of work. A lot of work. Sorry. So this is a non-toxic cerulean hue made with a phthalo pigment and a white. And hopefully they've actually disclosed the white, so that's nice. So this is quite a bright color for a cerulean. This is the sort of thing that like many brands might call a manganese hue, I would say. Like it's a bit brighter than you would really expect from a true cerulean. Now, I don't have it here. Da Vinci is the one remaining company that still has PB33 in their line. They make a mixture that has PB15 and PB33, which is manganese blue, which they sell as their manganese blue. Now it is mostly the PB15. It doesn't have that really strong granulation of a pure manganese blue. But you can see a little bit of clumping in this one too. I don't know if that's intentional. I mean, cerulean does have that, so it could be that they did deliberately put something in there. Indanthrone blue. Ooh, the middle child. Yes, indeed. Middle of 5. Had step siblings over a decade older than me, plus a brother 4 years younger. Well, you've got my baby brother right here in the chat. Hi, Lauren. Lauren is almost young enough to be my son. Not quite. And we have a sibling between us as well, who is 6.5 years younger than me. So I was old enough that I was taking care of both of them. And I was also the neighborhood babysitter. You know, I've been around. Is Lauren the youngest? Yeah, Lauren's the youngest. Lauren's the baby. All adults now, though, as of today. So our nephew is, he's just over a year old. We have an older sister who's 5 years older than me as a baby. And she's a public health nurse doing contact tracing. So she's on a contact tracing contract. Now would be a particularly bad time to quit that, for obvious reasons. So she lost her nanny, and we had to figure out some family care arrangements so she could continue her work. So I took care of the little guy for a little while. One of my other siblings took care of the little guy for a while, and now they've moved the whole family over into my parents' house. So little one has grandparents spoiling the hell out of him all day. My sister was born during World War II. That's pretty cool. That's an age gap, isn't it? Yeah, there's a gigantic age gap with my siblings and I. Part of it is because a bunch of them are adopted. So that allows some larger age range than would otherwise be possible. But the gap between my oldest brother and Lauren, my youngest brother, is it is almost double the gap between my dad and my oldest brother. I am not adopted. I am one of two kids in my family who are not, but I'm one of 5 kids and 3 are adopted. Lauren, what's your question? Hello, how are you? Is there something you're not telling me that you're playing at, Lauren? Lauren knows I'm not adopted. Just the rest of the siblings. Just the intentional siblings. I'm the surprise. I'm the accident that my parents didn't intend to have when they were in university. What time is it there? Here's 10:40. Here it is 5:40, I believe. Sounds right. Okay, so you see this here, this is Denise's green. You see that little, like, those little black speckles? That's more of that not granulation, because these are two non-granulating pigments in here. PY129 and PB60. A happy accident, Bob Ross would say. Yes. They did go on to then have 4 more kids afterwards, so clearly, you know, I wasn't that much of a cautionary tale. Denise, yes, as in Denise Soden. Robert? Who's Robert? Melissa? Who are we talking about? Yes, Stephen. Denise is green as in Denise Soden. She did a special edition, or I mean, there's a set that they made for her, including Denise's green. She designed a mix of 2 of their colors, the green gold and the Indian Throne blue, which was the sap green that she wanted. Polo. Oh, sorry, I'm swatching this out off screen. Sorry about that, guys. You're in Spain. That's cool. Truly global audience. Just a short hop away. All right. I wish to visit. I'm from England. Pick up Stephen on the way. Well, I mean, Stephen now lives like down the street from me, so. Okay, now we have phthalo green. We're getting somewhere. One sheet down. Oh, what am I doing? I'm filling this in wrong. PG7 phthalo green brand Da Vinci. I could hit a golf ball. Please don't. I think you're actually closer to my house than you are my studio now, Stephen. You could stalk me. Please don't. Does it feel strange that in the vastness of the internet you have a viewer who lives in the same town? I have a few viewers who live in the same town. I've actually met Stephen in person, so it's not, you know, it's not, he's not a complete stranger who just happens to live down the street. He popped up on Ev's stream, I believe, some time ago. I think possibly even before I had started making my own YouTube videos, and realized that he was pretty close to my studio. So he stopped by my studio. So actually some of these paints, like we've traded paints in the past. But yeah, I have a few viewers who are local. There's a fairly substantial local art community. Now these little live stream things. Isn't it really weird? Invite me, I'll pop fireworks. I found it really weird when I got an order from someone who lived in my town. Well, that's, yeah, it's always interesting, right? Like, would it be weird for me to just like deliver this in person? But yes, I mean, I'm involved with the local art scene too, so like some of my viewership does come directly from that. In Stephen's case, I'm pretty sure he just found me through Ev, but. Oh, this is pretty. Check this out. Oh. This is like a violet iron oxide. If, for instance, you like Pigment Genuine from Daniel Smith, but you're a little peeved about their shady business practices and you'd like something similar, this violet iron oxide is very, very, very similar to that. All right then, Lauren. Looking forward to seeing your gaming channel. Get good at editing, then I can hire you to do my editing. Hire anyone to do my editing. Please, somebody else do my editing. I hate editing. This like one person startup thing, you know, it has some downsides. Da Vinci PR 101. I can feel that I'm getting sloppier as I go. Okay, so that's the first page. Look, guys, 18 swatches. Okay, next. This page has fewer. And let me just start putting away these. So I should be able to put away at least the first bunch of them. If I put away, I'm just stacking them. I'm not doing anything to them just yet. I will still have to do a lifting test in here before I put them in the binder. Okay, next, 19 raw sienna and burnt sienna. Do it for free, give me a chance, please. Oh gosh. I wish. Yes, I'd seen Lee's web pages on many topics before realizing she was local. I thought her name was Leanne Gold. That's a very, very common thing, and I knew I was signing up for it. So I took my husband's name when we got married, and so I knew I was signing up for, well, suddenly I'm going to become Leanne Gold. There's no way around it. On the other hand, the advantage is I do get listed first on a whole bunch of alphabetically ordered lists. I'm moved up on the alphabet. Do it for free. Give me a chance, please. Well, you shouldn't do things for free, but you know, if you want to do my editing. Gosh, I wish I could actually justify, like, it's so close and yet so far just because editing takes so long. It's like, it's, you know, like I pay Joy to make me a schedule and that is so worth the money. But editing takes so long and it's still like, you know, I would still need to do filming. I would still need to like talk someone through directing. So it's like for them to then do the really long task of editing, and it's skilled labor. So it's, I don't really want to think about how much that would cost because I don't make that much on YouTube, but that is definitely a like short-term goal is, can somebody else please do this terrible part of my job? Free me up to do more painting. So this one is raw umber. That's a pretty nice raw umber. Sorry, I was off screen swatching this, wasn't I? I was. Whoops. It's like a fairly like more brownish one. Like sometimes they're like more grayish, more greenish. This is raw umber. This is like halfway to like some burnt umbers. Pigment number PBR7, hopefully, yes. Okay, PBR7, okay. Raw Sienna Deep made with PY42. So I have the regular raw sienna, which, I mean, maybe I'll swatch that as well. Yeah, I'll swatch that as well. So this is their raw sienna Deep. Because I do have the other raw sienna right beside me. So let's compare them. So this is mass tone. So that's quite a transparent color. I quite like that. It's not the traditional raw sienna pigment. It's made with PY42, which is usually yellow ochre. But that's pretty neat. I like it. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Interesting. It's very different from their regular raw sienna. So I have raw sienna also from Da Vinci in here. I'm just gonna... Oh, actually, while we're here, let's take a look at this mess that I've got. See this line here of stuff that's now drifting across my palette? And we've got all of this clumping going on here. Like all the umbers and siennas. Oh. Okay, so I will point something out about Da Vinci paints. You see this? What's going on here? Oh, see how it's got like the sticky taffy edge to it? A lot of Da Vinci paints do that. It might be the humectant they use. Like I think they use like a syrup. So similar to honey, but they don't actually use honey, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong about that. Sorry. Anyway, so this one is raw sienna Deep. Da Vinci, and this is PY42. Yeah. Bit like Old Holland. Yeah, it's a little bit different, but yes, Old Holland also has some like weird texture things. Da Vinci is like, they're good paint, they're, you know, their colors are what you expect them to be. There's no like weird surprises in terms of the pigments or anything. All that stuff is good. They're high quality. They behave nicely on the paper. But one thing to note about them is like in terms of paint consistency, like on one extreme you have Schminko where all the paints are all like very even and all will dispense nicely in the same way out of the tube. And on the other extreme, you have things like this, where it's like, they all do weird things coming out of the tube. All different weird things. So, trying to get some comparison here. And you can see I'm getting a little sloppy because I have stuff in my way, and also I'm getting tired. Siennas, no. So usually raw sienna is PBR 7. But this one is made with PY 42, the raw sienna deep. The regular raw sienna is made with PBR 7. So here you have two different colors. One of them is the raw sienna, which again is showing up very yellow on this screen. It is not this yellow in real life. I think it's just trying to adjust for changing lighting conditions in my studio here. Maybe if I pull these back and give you more natural looking light. Because I'm recording on my phone, it's like trying to decide whether I'm indoors or outdoors, but I have studio lights on, so it does weird things. How is that? Is that a little better? Still got that real like yellow undertone. Not really totally sold on that. Okay, anyway. That's that. Maybe if I do this and this. Yes, right. So traditionally, if you're talking about what is a raw sienna pigment, it is not PY 42, it is PBR 7. But it doesn't matter. Brands can name a paint whatever they want. They can name it sienna no matter what the pigment is. So this one, they've named raw sienna deep, but it's PY 42, which is traditionally a yellow ochre pigment. Okay. Graham now. So we have cobalt, violet, Graham. Yeah, we've got all the cobalts now. Aha. Let's get this down a little, get this down a little. Maybe this will be helpful, huh? Because what's a naming convention? These people just make stuff up. Name it whatever you want. Yeah, no, there's no real standard to how things are named. Okay, cobalt violet. That is definitely a darker shade of cobalt violet. Like you have some brands that'll have like a much lighter shade of cobalt violet. This is definitely that darker stuff, more of like more similar to say a manganese violet. This one is cobalt. So some nice strong granulation here if you're wanting like a strong granulating violet. It does seem pretty easy to re-wet. which is nice. Good thing about your engrams here. Okay, next we have this guy, which is a cobalt teal. So this is made with PB28. So this is M-grams cobalt teal, which I've heard a great deal about, but I actually have never tried. So this was, Renea reached out to me and said, I'd really like cobalt teal, and I saw that you, I had tried, I believe it was the cobalt sea blue from Roman Schmal Aquarius, and I've got a whole bunch of similar things that I'd like you to try. And then she sent me just a whole bunch of different paints to try. So that's where this collection came from. It is really cool. That is a really pretty cobalt teal. And if you are in the United States or Canada, this is probably one of the cheapest cobalt teals you can get. And it is quite nice. So definitely a thing to consider is M-gram's quite affordable depending on where you live. And so if you live somewhere where M-gram is affordable, this is a nice cobalt teal. I thought I didn't like the PBA28 cobalt teals as much, and I think I'm just wrong. I do like them as much, I just didn't like some specific ones that I tried before. So this is cobalt teal. M-gram, and it is beautiful. It's PB28. I'll just put that in here. That's not 49. I do not have I don't know what you're talking about, PO49. PO49? PY49? I don't know. In any case, no 49s. What about that Indenthrone blue? Is it good? Not so reddish like Delft blue from Schminke? Are you talking about the Da Vinci Indenthrone blue? The Da Vinci Indenthrone blue looks similar to the Delft blue. I haven't gotten to the M-gram anthraquinone blue, which is what they call their PB60. I do use it though. Like that is the Indenthrone blue that I use is the M-gram anthraquinone. It is more like punchy blue, less of an indigo color. Or you know what? No, sorry. I said Delft blue. It's more similar to the, what's it called? Dark blue indigo PB60 from Schminke, I think. I don't know. It's pretty nice. I like it. What am I doing? Cobalt blue. PB28.
You know what? That's almost better, isn't it? If I just like try to do that. Sorry, I'm still playing with my lights, trying to figure out what the best thing to do for this phone is, because it's trying to adjust my lights as I go, and I'm not a fan of what it's doing. Am I late? What are we all doing? Well, I mean, I was late. I've been going for hours now, so, you know, join whenever. We are swatching, so I received some dots of paint from a viewer who very generously sent me a whole bunch of dots from her collection to try out. So a whole bunch of Da Vinci and Graham, some Winsor Newton, including some discontinued stuff, some Turner, White Knights. So I'm just trying out a whole bunch of different paints, swatching them, and then putting them in a swatch binder. So that's what I'm doing, and chatting while I do that. And this is basically what's on my to-do list for tonight, so I'm just going to keep going till I'm done, which will make this a really long stream, but that's okay. At the beginning of the stream, I was literally just cutting paper for an hour, which apparently people thought was entertaining, which is fascinating. Okay, what am I doing now? This is quinacridone red by M. Graham. So I have an issue with the water I use and M. Graham quinacridones in general, which is why I haven't tried this one. It is a very, very lovely shade. I suspect that I would run into issues with it, as I do with all of the M. Graham quinacridones, so I might just play more with that dot later. But it should be fine for just a swatch in any case. Okay, you can start to see already on the paper, see that like weird little patterning? That's just all M. Graham paints do this with me. It's because they're so very saturated that they drop out. They don't have enough binder to keep the pigment particles separate. In my very, very, very heavily mineralized water. So this is something that multiple people have noticed. I did a whole bunch of testing on it and couldn't figure out what it was. At this point, I'm pretty sure I do know what it is. I should just write another blog post about it. Add that to the to-do list. Okay, so this is Quin Red, which is a beautiful, beautiful paint. I think I love this pigment. And this is a really nice bright version of it. It is going to create a little bit of extra texture that I'm not sure that I want. Because all M. Graham synthetic organic paints do this for me. Never used DaVinci. Right. Okay, so I have gotten through the DaVinci, but I can flip through them real quick. So Airline Yellow, Hansa Yellow Deep, Gold Ochre, Green Gold, Alizarin Crimson. This is the quinacridone. Quinacridone Fuchsia, Perylene Maroon. There's a whole bunch more over here spread out. You can look at. And I'm just gonna keep working. So now we're on to M. Graham. So we've done 4 of the M. Graham. I'm now doing the Quin Violet. I don't think I've ever used the M. Graham Quin Violet. So this is a PV19, but the more violet shade of PV19. Very pretty. Again, I suspect that if I were to keep using it, I would find that it would do this weird clumping thing. It's just the pigment load in M. Graham. I can't support the use of heavily mineral water. Does anyone have any big plans for next week? Oh, work-wise, enjoyment, like entertainment-wise. I've been gardening a lot. So I started transplanting my garden this week. Like my summer garden, I already had some cold hardy stuff out before, but okay, so now we have Anthraquinone Blue. So that is my favorite version of PB60 that I've tried. Roman Schmal also makes a really nice version. They both actually have a little bit of that clumping thing that I've described from other pigments, but not very severe. And actually the M. Graham one is less pronounced than the Roman Schmal one, but you'll see it's like this really dark, deep blue, but then when you water it down, it's got like quite a bright undertone to it. Let's get some more water activity in here to start showing some of this texture. And in here. So this is a really, really lovely PB60. It seems like an actually very slightly different shade than the one I've got in my palette. Oh, that's interesting. Like this one seems a little bit more purpley than the one I've got in my palette, but it's the same brand. Interesting. Gotta go. Night night, everyone. Thanks for stopping by, Dan. I've been birding. Feeding hummingbirds is a full-time job. Less green? Yes. The M. Graham PB60 did well. Yeah, I really like the M. Graham PB60. I mean, I guess it depends a little bit what you want. But yes, I find that my M. Graham PB60 is a little bit greener. A little bit greener than this one, which is interesting. Just like batch to batch variation, I guess. It's not like either one is nice, but It's just interesting when there are changes like that, right? So yellow, brand at gram, PY151. Okay, so I use nickel azo, PY150, but Mgram also has an azo yellow, PY1, which is like more of a traditional yellow tone. Sorry. Let's try to make sure that I'm not contaminating this too much. I might be contaminating this too much. I'm gonna grab a towel to clean that up. Sorry. Try Ace's cider, especially Joker, a very dry cider. It's made in California and is very good, much better than Longbow. Longbow? Strongbow? I don't think that I have seen Ace's cider locally, but I can check. You seem to be watching from like much earlier in the video, which is totally cool, but it's gonna make this conversation a little bit disjointed. But yeah. Okay, so that's an azo yellow. All right, now we've got some cool Winsor & Newton things, including genuine rose madder made with NR9 and the original gamboge made with NY24. Oh, so rose madder genuine and Winsor & Newton NR9 is rose madder is the one that they sent, right? Yeah, they put oil of bergamot in it. Because madder is from the madder plant, this genuine rose madder. It's beautiful, but the madder plant has a sort of weird smell to it, and this was Queen Victoria's favorite color, so they scented it for her benefit, and that has stuck. So Winsor & Newton has one scented paint in their line, and that's this genuine rose madder. And it is really lovely. Pretty fugitive, unfortunately, but very pretty. It smells a little like Fruit Loops because of the oil of bergamot. Or like more generously, like a London Fog, like a, you know, like an Earl Grey tea, but I just can't separate it out. It smells like Fruit Loops to me. Because Fruit Loops also have this smell in them. It smells like Fruit Loops. Because it doesn't have the tea smell, just the Fruit Loops. Just the bergamot. That's beautiful though, isn't it? Too bad it's not Strongbow. Whatever. Hi, good morning from Australia. Good morning. So pretty. Good night from the antipodes. Spain. Yeah, I'm time zone, super awkward, huh? Okay, the next one is she sent me transparent yellow, which is PY150. I have in fact used this very paint before, but I didn't have a sample of it, like a full pan or anything. So now I can get, you know, a proper sample of Winsor Newton's PY150 because their dot card is really wimpy. So I can use theirs. It's a nice bright yellow. It's less orangey than some PY150s. A little less intense too, so it doesn't get as much of that like brown look. They've mixed in more binder or something, so you really only get the yellow. But if you are the sort of person who finds that PY150 is just like a little too overwhelming, but you want a very transparent yellow, the Winsor Newton version is very nice. It is like a nice middle yellow, not too much color shift, and very, very transparent. Like this is as much mass tone as I can really build up in it. Pretty, huh? And now, this is perhaps one of the more exciting ones in this sheet. I've got original gamboge. So not new gamboge. Not new gamboge, not old new gamboge, not older new gamboge, but in fact original gamboge made with NY24, which is it's a tree gum. So don't eat this, like don't eat paint in general, but this will give you the shits. It's not poison, it'll just like really clean you out apparently. So do not eat. Don't eat paint in general. There's like cobalt and whatever in here too. Like, don't eat your paint. Oh man, that is gorgeous. That's so pretty. It apparently isn't particularly light fast either, but oh wow. Okay, yes, that's got your PY150 thing where it's like it's gonna dry quite transparent. But I bet it also lifts. What does it smell like? Sorry, gotta smell my paint. I can't really make it out. It's like maybe lemony, but it's hard to tell because I've got the wet rose madder right beside it that smells very strongly of Earl Grey tea and Fruit Loops. So that is real pretty. Nope, sorry, I've got that wrong. I put the pigment in the brand. So that's Winsor Newton. Winsor Newton pigment number N Y24, Windsor and Newton. Yeah. Okay, well, that's all very exciting. Okay. So then I've got the Turner paints. Maya blue, turquoise blue, and then White Knight's cobalt turquoise. Okay, so this is Maya blue, brand Turner. So I'm not really familiar with Turner as a brand very much. So just got the two paints here, and they're both kind of quirky paints. So, you know, wouldn't want to make a decision on the brand based on that, but that is interesting because this is a brand that I've like not really tried at all. So I am finding it a little hard to re-wet this Maya blue. Like it's kind of a little bit sticky, but that is likely as much about the pigment as it is about the brand. So, you know, it does have like a sort of gummy feeling, but again, like these are sort of quirky pigments. So just because this one doesn't mean that all the other paints from this brand are also going to be like this. But you can see the gumminess of this paint, like how it's like dragging across here. Like it's not spreading at all. So that's what happens when you have a lot of gum and not a lot of dispersant or pigment. It tends to happen in some like heavier pigments that dry up harder, like earth pigments. So that's not necessarily a comment on the brand, but definitely in this case, you know, this is not what you would call a really well-behaved paint, right? But it is a really pretty color. Okay. Then we also have Turner's turquoise blue, which is PB28. So again, Renea sent me all of these because she really enjoys brand Turner. She really enjoys cobalt teals and turquoises, so she wanted me to try some cobalt teals and turquoises from her collection. So that's why this is here. This one is rewetting much more easily. It's also spreading much better. I am still getting a little bit of gumminess, but again, that's not too terribly uncommon with cobalts. It's definitely something I would watch for though, seeing this same sort of. No, you know what? This one's picking up easier. So I might have just still had some residual gum on my brush. Let's see if I get, yeah, this one's better. Okay. That is a really pretty turquoise. I think that Turner, if I recall, is a fairly affordable brand if you can get your hands on it. Like it's not super common. but their tubes are fairly affordable. So for things like cobalt that are really expensive generally, it's definitely worth seeking out. Okay, I'm gonna start clearing up. So, oh, that's still wet. Oh, because that's the one that I filled recently. Yeah, never mind. Okay, let's take these. And start pushing some things out of the way. So I've got a little too much going on here. Where did I put the rest of these? I had a pile. What did I do with my pile? There we go. Yep. Okay, so that's Turner. We have done most of these things. Getting here. We are getting here. Okay. Next, we have White Knights, Cobalt Turquoise. Also PB 28. Yeah. And this one looks like it's a fairly green shade, which I tend to like, which is why I thought I liked the PB 50s better, but I think I may have just been imagining that because some of these PB 28s have that same, oh, that is nice. I do like that. That's a really pretty, oh, I like that. Sorry, let me get this on screen. You see this? And again, White Knights is a really budget brand. So if you know, this makes less of a difference for things like phthalo. But once you get into the cobalts and stuff, you can get some really absurdly expensive paints. So if you can get the same results from a brand that is much less expensive, you can get some real savings going. And White Knights has been doing some neat things. They're restructuring their line and eliminating some of the more fugitive pigments and adding more like light fast pigments to their line. Really moving into that more professional part of the market, which I really appreciate. So that's really cool. That's a really pretty. So like I like that one better than the Turner because I tend to like them a little bit more on the greener side, I think. Okay, so that's the White Knights. Next, my final little swatch card. There's only 5 more of these. And I'm done. right, so first we've got cobalt teal blue. From Daniel Smith. So this is PG50, which I thought tended to be greener, and certainly this one's greener. Now the Daniel Smith version, if I recall correctly, I haven't really used it much. It has a much more granulating look to it, I believe, than some of the other cobalt teals on the market. We'll see whether that plays out in this swatch. It does seem to be a little bit gummier too, but yes, so you can see a little bit what's going on here in terms of separation. Like if I drop in some more of that pigment, you can see a little bit more how it's going to disperse and make some more visible granulation. I have the core PG50. I've had the core PG50. I think I've run through my core PG50, so I don't have it anymore, but I've got a sample here. From Daniel Smith. Next, I've got their cobalt turquoise. So this is interesting because a bunch of other companies call like this more teal color their cobalt turquoise, but Daniel Smith, what they call cobalt turquoise, is then much darker and greener. So it's made with sorry, let me find this. PB36, which is also used as a cerulean pigment sometimes. You can see this one is much greener than you would see in a cerulean. Again, it's got like that little bit of drag when you move the brush around, like it's got quite a bit of gum in it. So that's not uncommon with cobalt pigments at all. It's a behavior that I don't really love, but there's plenty of brands that it'll just show up in one or two paints, often a cobalt. So I don't want to be too judgmental of, for example, Turner, where I've only got two paints, but they're Mayan Blue and Cobalt, which are both prone to that. So anyway, here we go. It's a really pretty color. I'm glad to be able to try a nice big dot of it. I probably won't be buying any Daniel Smith for some time because I have some real issues with some of their business practices right now. PB36. Then we've got the third one from Daniel Smith is Mayan Blue Genuine. This is another whole great big question because there's nothing genuine about Mayan blue. It's a synthetic pigment that's made by a specific company, actually. That makes all of them. So it's not like you can mine it. It's not like scraped off of cave walls or anything. You know, it's an indigo lake that's precipitated on a specific kind of clay. So I don't know why they're putting it in the Permatex series, but then the whole Permatex series has a whole bunch of big question marks and lies about what's in it. And so again, here you have something that sort of, it's because of the clay base. You see it's got this like sticky, gummy feeling to it where like when you push it down, it doesn't spread out. Now I have used the Rublev, and you'll see Rublev has handled their Mayan blue rather differently. So anyway, here we go. You can get some nice gradation with that. I do like the color of it quite a bit. It's got some interesting texture. It's got a really cool history behind it. Unfortunately, in watercolor, it doesn't seem to have quite the same permanence as like the historical Mayan pigments that it's based on. And there's a bunch of potential reasons for that. But it's too bad that Paolo's gone because he was going to look into that a little bit more. But it is a really, really pretty color. PB, either I'm not going to invest in Daniel Smith for a while. PB36 is the cobalt cerulean, and Roman Schmal, quite a different color. I think that it's also cerulean blue chromium in Daniel Smith itself. So it's like, you know, it's one of these pigments that has a big range. Kind of like PB28 can be both this cobalt turquoise tealy color, or it can be cobalt blue like this M. Graham one. A lot of the turquoise colors, they have a range depending on like the pigment number refers to a preparation, like a method for getting that cobalt compound, but that can produce colors along a spectrum range. Okay, so name, here we have Mayan Blue Genuine by Daniel Smith, Mayan Blue Not Genuine by okay, pigment number, right, you're not going to disclose it. Flip table. It's PB82. I'm going to put it in PB82 because I already have a swatch of this in a Permatech page in my swatch book. So I'm just going to put this here and leave it there for comparison. Am I annoyed? Yes, I'm annoyed. Okay, cores, cobalt teal here. It flows really, really nicely and has like a nice amount of granulation. I really like cobalt, the cores, cobalt teal. The only thing I don't super duper like about it is the price. But it is definitely one of my favorites and definitely something I would happily go back to. I keep on trying different ones, so I haven't felt the need to refill it particularly, but I do really like this core cobalt teal. It's really punchy. It behaves nicely, like whereas a lot of cobalt teals have this sort of gumminess to them because of the Aquazol, which makes some other paints shoot across the page. It spreads just right. Like, I really like how this behaves. I like how it's got some visible granulation, but not too much. I like that it's got this like nice greenish shade. This is definitely one of my favorite cobalt teals. So that's that. And then the last one is Rublev Mayan Blue. And I don't know if I have a swatch of this, but I have purchased it before. I had a little shell of it and I really enjoyed it. And I was using it on something and it was in a little seashell and the seashell tipped and ruined one of my paintings and got relegated to the back of the drawer after that. I did, I think, eventually use it up, so I'm not sure if I have a swatch of the stuff. Because it turns out, even though, I collect too much paint, I do actually use a fair bit of paint, so I do use it up. You'll see, though, like, this covers the range that Mayan Blue can have. So the Rublev one is like this dark, inky indigo color. It's quite a bit more more of a stormy dark indigo than these other Mayan Blues. Really cool, huh? I really enjoy it. Rublev will also sell you the pigment if you want to make your own. Okay, so that's PB82. Maya Blue. And brand Rublev. Okay, well that is all my swatches. So I think that's about it for today. Eventually I'll come back and do a lifting test on all of these and sort them into the binder, but I need a break right now, so I think I'm heading out. So thank you so much for joining me. This was really fun. Glad to be home. Glad to see you all again. Thanks so much. It's so pricey, but so nice. Cobalt teal from Court, right? Yeah, so it is a really, really nice version of the cobalt teal. I do really like it. Thank you. Thanks for joining. And yeah, I will see you next week. Oh, one more thing. I have a Patreon page. Do I still have a mod here somewhere? Okay. I can go throw a link up, but I have a Patreon page where I do monthly, somewhat more focused, like workshop style live stream. So, on every Friday, I just turn on a camera and you can watch me do whatever I'm doing. So today I smashed a bunch of stuff. But then once a month I do a much more focused, more workshop-y style class thing live on Patreon for patrons at the $10 or more Canadian tier. And if you'd like, you can join. You won't be charged until next month, but my next one will be this Sunday, I believe, weather permitting. I will be doing a class on sketching birds, and I'll be taking my gear out live. So do a live sketching session, so feel free to join and you can try it out. And because you won't be charged until next month, you can get a month free to try it out. And that's totally fine with me. I also have a, what's it called? Discord server, which is like a chat thing, which is absolutely free. Anyone can join. And I will throw up some links for both of those things now, since I think I am out of mods right this instant. My phone died and now the stream ended. Aw. Bye. Okay, I'm gonna throw up some links. Bye-bye.